Nigeria's financial sector in the light of the passing of Herbert Wigwe, the group CEO of Access Holdings. Unfortunate event that came about in the last 24 hours, 48 hours. I can't remember exactly. Was it Saturday or Sunday? The news actually broke
on Saturday.
Yes, and it was a very sad one. And the entire financial sector, Nigerian financial sector, was thrown into a state of mourning. And of course, a lot of questions were being asked as well. And we are here to have that conversation. And joining us this evening to give us insight into where we are right now and what the future holds for the Nigerian financial sector in the light of that event is Muktar Mohammed. He's the CEO of Finance with Muktar. Very good evening to you, Muktar. Great to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me. Always a pleasure to be on Smooth FM.
Right. It's good. It's good to know that you enjoy, having these conversations with us as we enjoy having them with you as well. And for you out there listening to us right now, you can be a part of the conversation as always by sharing your thoughts on WhatsApp. Any observations, thoughts, questions you might have, you can send them in on 0809 440 981, 0809 440 981. And you can also join the live stream because we're streaming live on YouTube at Smooth 981 FM Lagos. All right, let's get straight into things. Now, Muktar, what I really want to know first of all is what were you doing when you heard the news that Herbert Wigwe and his wife and child had passed away?
Yeah, I was in Ikoyi with a mentor and his friend who happened to be also a close friend of Albert, professional colleague. So I saw the news, the breaking news sent to me on my phone, and I shared it with him, and he said, no, it can't be true.
Mm.
I just passed through his house just some minutes ago. I've not even passed there for a while, but I just passed through his house some minutes ago. It can't be true. It can't be true. Uh, we all thought it can be true. Maybe, and as console them, sometimes this thing happen. People trying to run people to their side so that they can have a lot of traffic. We're just not, it was, we were living, we didn't just want to believe it. I think
It seemed
that was
like
it.
clickbait sort of information at that point.
Yeah, because of the man himself. If you met the man himself about Uge, you don't he's full of life, full of vision, full of dreams. So you just wonder, it can be true.
Hmm.
And indeed, like you said, it just feels like so surreal. However, I want to know how big a loss is this to Nigeria's financial sector, seeing that he was someone that had such visions for the financial sector. We've seen how he was able to turn around some banks that everyone would have said, no, don't touch that. But hey, he turned them around and they're doing great now. Or at least merged with them and they're doing better.
Well, they are doing great, even not even better, because again, it's an understatement. Where anything he touched, where anything bad that he touched turns to good. I can give you instant how they got getting Access Bank. It was a merchant bank, almost at the state of collapse. They took it up, and him and his business partner Ike Mokwede, who fortunately they were together that day, but he took a different helicopter while Albert took a different helicopter. His own landed and Albert on the land. So that's the difference. So it would have been a more colossal loss. You can imagine if two of them were on the same flight. You can't just want to think about what would have happened. But again, he's a huge loss. Words cannot say who Albert Wigwe is to the financial sector. Like I say, it's a visionary. It's a visionary leader. He have led Access Bank to the most profitable bank in Nigeria. First bank to hit ₦1 trillion in profit after profit before tax. First bank, the bank that have the largest branch network in Nigeria after the acquisition of Intercontinental Bank. The bank that is driving growth all over Africa. The bank that is driving growth, building a holding company that wants to drive growth in the fintech industry, in the pension fund industry, just acquire ARM pension. I mean, there's a lot of things you want to talk about, Albert. And again, people just looked at it. He didn't. He was leaving the financial sector, and he was looking at education. And he was. I mean, he just
He
started
also
the
had,
educational project just
yeah.
a
Right,
year
right.
ago. And again, that project moving. And just last week, there were rumors where Nigeria were complaining. How do you want to tell us to begin to pay for dollar in our own country when we are? He said, look. I'm not asking Nigerians to pay for dollar. That's why I have two feet there. There's the naira, there's the dollar.
There's a
I'm
dollar.
building an institution that will be African driven and will be a world class university. So I'm expecting Nigerians should begin to earn FX from
As well
educational
from,
sector.
yeah.
That was what he was thinking. That's the kind of visionary leader that he was. He was not just thinking of the now. He was thinking of
Of the
the
future.
future. And that's how he has grown Access Bank to where they are today. He said they're going to be the fifth largest bank in Nigeria within 5 years. It took them 3 years to be the fourth largest bank. And today they are the third largest bank in Nigeria. And he was saying that they were still going towards being that goal. And again, it's moving towards being the hallmark of financial um, financial, he call it a one-shop store in Africa, whereby you can go into Access Holding. Remember, he's the group CEO of Access Holding. He's no more the MD of Access Bank, but
MDF,
everybody
yeah.
just think when they talk about Access Bank, they talk about
Herbert
Albert
Wigwe.
Wigwe. But again, that's what he was trying to be, the one-stop shop.
Mm.
All right, fantastic. Now, of course, looking at the man, Herbert Wigwe, his achievements speak for themselves. He was a colossus in the financial sector. And of course, his boots are very huge boots to actually fill. And looking at that, how quickly should the company move on in filling that leadership void? Because if someone of that stature and, of course, standing is no longer in the picture, that is definitely a big hole in the leadership space within the company.
Well, I think again you need to give it to him. They have a transition. They have a succession plan. He was the group CEO of Access Holding Company. He has also have the deputy group CEO. And one thing people don't know, he's 57 years old. He was just thinking he would drive that corporation for the next 3 years, and when he's 60, he would retire to face the educational project that he wanted. So there was a big succession plan already. They work with as a team. They always remember that if it was between him and Aki Mokwede, they were together. And when Mike finished his 12 years plan, he was put in there. And after that, they have they have a team that have been growing organically to head that branch. So I mean that their own business. I don't think that would be a problem. And Access Holding have come out that anytime soon we'll get to know who is going to be the acting group CEO of Access Holding Corporation. I think that will come any moment from now. We should be getting that announcement.
All right, fantastic. And really quickly here, looking at what you just said about, the company having a succession plan, how vital is it for corporations of this size and magnitude to always have it in mind that, hey, we need to have a plan in case something happens? Because a lot of people, especially in Nigeria, will say, they don't want to talk about death. They don't want to talk about, somebody leaving. They don't want to talk about, those sort of things. So how important is it to not be sentimental and say, we are this big corporation and we need to keep pragmatic and keep the wheels moving at all points in time, no matter what happens?
I think we must learn from them. And if you listen to him talking to his community people in Rivers State about the university, you hear him saying that this university belongs to you people. This university is not just my own. This university that will outlive my children. That's to tell you the kind of goal and that. And we may not have seen anything good about the CBN, but we need also to commend the CBN in this case, especially with the Access Bank itself. The CBN make sure that the MD have a deputy MD that naturally just stepped into when the MD tenure is finished. Remember that MD tenures in the financial sector, especially the banking sector, is about 12 years. Albert did not complete that 12 years before he got a new successor asset and moved on to building the holding company. So definitely there's a succession plan. And what I talk about that is that we give it, so, regulators also need play a role in building successor plan for an institution. And that's what the role that CBN has played thus far. For the holding company, they are new, but again, what we see that they have deputy group managing director And I mean, I think those will be the one that will step in. So we need to have that because in other developed world, some companies have outlived their founders. If you go further, if you look at Ford Motor, you see that Henry Ford is gone for a very long time. He's still there.
But
You
it's
look at
still
Toyota also, they are still there. They said the average Japanese company have 100 years plan. And I remember Herbert Wigwe saying that Access Bank has almost, I can tell you about the strategic means they have been going, and he was looking to become a global player. That's why even the president of France, Macron, has to send a condolence message and say we've lost a great technocrat, I mean, businessman. So I think that is very necessary, especially in Nigeria, like you said. Most Nigerians think when you tell them you want to prepare a will, you are preparing your death warrant. No, I think it's always necessary to have that will. It's also necessary to have that succession plan. If you look at the Nigerian financial sector, you must give them some credit because they seems to have a succession plan. If you look at First Bank have stayed over 100 years and it has continued to grow. You look at GTCO. GTCO is one example. Remember that the founder, also Ayo Joy, passed away and some years ago, and GTCO is still growing strong till today. You will also look at Zenith Bank. Jim Ovia is no more there as the group CEO of Zenith Bank, and Zenith Bank is still waxing strong. So we can go on and on. I think Nigerian, especially the financial institution, have been doing well, but I don't know about other sectors. Other sectors still have a lot to do when it comes to succession plan. But the financial sector, I think they have been doing very well.
Okay.
All right, that's good to hear. And it's good to talk about these.
Okay, if you want to talk again, you also look at FCMB, Subumi Balogun. He had his great succession plan up to today, and they are still moving. So the financial sector is fine when it comes to succession plan.
And that's a great model for other corporations to actually follow. We'll look at a whole lot more, and of course the stock market as well on the other side of this quick breather. Stick around because Marketplace on Smooth 98.1 will continue. We'll be back in a bit. Quick break. Let's breathe.
I need to also do the stuff.
If you haven't been, that's not you. Yes. This is your lifestyle on the day gets yes, you heard that. Your life will be blocked, hassle, barred, disconnected, big your cheese, and then directly big entity. What else is that? Well, I want you to actively create your that effort. Even check your account balance. How much you supposed to have that. That's I have 6 hours now of visit the first blue outlet or secret exclusive agent to meet your NIS for blue line and stay forever home. No NIS, no problem. Just look at NIS office to get yours now. Remember, free registration is free.
All right, welcome back to the Marketplace on Smooth 98.1, your love music, love life station. Ayo and Joy are right here with you, as well as Muktar Mohammed. He is the CEO of Finance with Muktar, and we're having a very poignant and, of course, important conversation this evening. We're looking at the Nigerian financial sector and how it's going to play out and how it's going to look differently in the light of the passing of Herbert Wigwe, the CEO of Access Holdings. And we've just been looking at how that loss is going to affect the financial sector in Nigeria, and of course, what we probably expect to see in the nearest future. And you can be a part of the conversation, as always, by sharing your thoughts on WhatsApp. The number is 0809 440 981. You can also catch the live stream on YouTube. We are streaming live at Smooth 981 FM Lagos. All right, let's get back into the conversation. Now, Muktar, looking at everything going on right now, I'm talking about the stock market. It's been closed since about 2:30 p.m. This afternoon. Now, how did investors react to the Access Holdings stock in trading today?
Well, it's still on a low. It lost about 6.something% today, which he's been hovering between that 20. It started the week at 25 naira, and it's closing. I mean, it's closing today at 23.2 naira. That has been the stage it has been for some time now, between that 25 naira mark and the 23 naira mark. So nothing so spectacular, but again, definitely you expect that. Investors apparently now in the stock market are looking for other safe havens because a lot of them have made so much profit. So it is not just related to Access Bank alone. Other financial stocks also were down today, not just Access Bank. But again, a lot of people could attribute the downward trend to Access Bank to the death of their group CEO of the corporation,
Correct.
definitely. But I don't think that is a major cost of it. But it could also be in some other investment, because investment is all about perception. Some people just feel that he was the one driving the organization. So even if you have a successor, he might not drive it the way he's driving it. And that's the normal thing to happen in the short term. But in the long term, when people begin to see that the bank is still strong, the strategy is still there. And again, for this year, I think they have already gotten the board has already met and given approval of their year-end result, just waiting for CBN to give a final approval to it. So it's not really going to affect anything come this year or come last year report, and also first quarter of this year. But maybe from second quarter, investors will begin to look at what impact his demise is having on the bank.
Okay, so but taking a look at the stock market itself, do you still think that the stock in Nigeria's financial sector is looking great, or do you think it will take a downward turn?
It will always look great because it's one of the most liquid sector in the Nigerian market. Again, when it's a reform, the first place to benefit is the financial sector. And I keep telling people that's why when we came with the removal of subsidy, you saw the financial sector reacted to it, because they are the one that will always bring a loan the importers the money to import fuel into the country. So when you remove that, they also gain from it. Also, the financial sector, when you did the floating of the naira, they were the ones that gain most from it also through the revaluation of the naira currency. They are also the ones. So in any economy, when there is reform, the key driver of that reform, the first place you create that reform is the stabilization of your financial sector. That's why the CBN governor said that for us to grow a $1 trillion economy, we need to also grow our bank. Our banking sector have to recapitalize to the tune of 1 trillion. So that tells you that the financial sector is always a key driver of any economy policy of any nation. So I'm still very upbeat about the financial sector. There's still a lot of value there. People will say, "Oh, they made so much profit." It's like Access Bank. Let's move from a low of about 8 naira to a high of about 27 naira before coming down to 23 naira, 20 kobo today. So we've had those phenomenal growth in those sectors, and it was largely driven. The current exchange, the index of the market is about 36.34%. And that is the current index number in terms of percentage gain is way above inflation of almost 30%. So the only way investors have been able to beat inflation is investing in the capital market, especially the equity market. So there's still a lot of value there. And like I said, some of these banks are also expanding outside the shore of this country. So they are also leaching on development in other developed economies and also developed countries, also in Africa especially. So there's still a lot of value in the financial stock especially. And they are the ones that pay dividends. And they are the most one that you get to get your dividends. Anytime they've been consistent with dividend payment, especially the tier one bank. When we talk about tier one bank, we talk about Zenith Bank, GT Bank, Access Bank, and First Bank is still there, but still struggling.
Okay.
Okie dokes. Okay, now Muktar, I'm going to take you back a little bit. I mean, forward ever, as they say, but I just need to dial back a bit on something because earlier on we talked about institutions and corporations that have systems in place to actually outlive their founders. They have those key structures. Now, is it possible, and has there ever been a situation where a corporation didn't have that solid structure and was still able to find its way to survive and then outlive the founder and those who first of all started and kept it growing and moving for generations? Is that possible, or is it very important to not build the whole thing around one particular person?
I think I don't know of any history of that. If you want to give any history, sometimes you have to go outside the shore of this country, unfortunately.
Okay.
If you look at Walmart is actually like a family business.
Yeah.
Today, the founders are all gone, but Walmart is not, the MDC or Walmart is not even the son of the founder of Walmart. Walmart is still growing. If you look at Disneyland also, with Disney's children are not the one running Disneyland, and Disneyland is still growing. If you look at the Rockefeller Foundation, you see the same thing. I think, especially in America, they've had those succession plans, but again, they look at building the succession plan in terms of they have is different when the family has a shareholding is different from determining being the CEO of those companies. I think it's always different in America. But in Nigeria, when you tend to think about it, you struggle to get anyone. I mean, you really struggle. But like I said, the good news is that in a bank like First Bank, and you know that the founders are at the point, First Bank was like the central bank of Nigeria those days. So it was also a British bank that was developed from the scratch. And so it has no like in an infant. If you look at Chevron, you look at Mobi's, you look at Shell, these were built by families, but today they are being run as a corporation because they make sure that you have the shareholding, but you have controlling share. But when it comes to the administration, they have set down rules on how this place should be run, not by the family. They get professional, pay them, and they return profits to the company. In Nigeria, okay, you could also look at, like I said, FCMB is a good example where I mean, the founders also have passed on, and the son is running it very, very well. It's still very profitable. But I think in Nigeria, it's hard, very hard for you to come up and see a company that the founder is gone and somebody else is running it and they are successful. Most of the company Nigerians that are still being run today, most of them, the founders are always the son that is running it or a family member that is running
Mm.
this corporation. It's very difficult to see that in Nigeria. Maybe we've not gotten to that place. It's not just Nigeria, even in Africa. We shouldn't just take in Nigeria. I think they say it's a black man problem.
Okay, I'm hoping that that will actually change going forward. But before we let you go, I want to know what's your outlook for the financial sector despite this tragedy?
That looks still huge. We still have a lot of financial titan in the Nigerian financial sector.
Okay.
You still have the Tony Elumelu of this world. They are still there.
Mm.
They are still there
Mm.
moving. They're moving there. You still have the Agbajis of this world. They are still there.
Mm.
Even Jim Ovia is not out there. He's the chairman of Zenith Bank. So
Okay.
there's still a lot. Fola Adiola is also still there, chairman of Sterling Bank. So
Mm-hmm.
there's still a lot of potential. There's still a lot of skills. Not it's just that we will happen to be one of those also that a lot of people look up to continue to strive excellent in that sector. So, but I don't think there's any cause for alarm in terms of the financial sector. Like I said,
Okay.
those key drivers are still there, and we are even seeing more banks come. More banks are coming up now, and so a lot still there's still a lot of potential in that sector, and they are not starved of skill or manpower to drive growth in the financial sector.
All right.
All right, absolutely amazing stuff. And that's the kind of thing we would love to hear that, despite this tragic incident, that the financial sector is still very much in amazing hands with all the brilliant and great individuals who are there to see to affairs and make sure that the financial sector in Nigeria keeps growing on and on and on. Thank you so much for joining us this evening, Muktar. We've been talking with Muktar Mohammed, the CEO of Finance with Muktar. Muktar, for anyone who'd love to have conversations with you, where can they find you on maybe social media, for example?
I can remember myself as a Finance with Muktar on Twitter. So I'm there. Also, you can find me on LinkedIn, Muktar Mohammed. You find me on LinkedIn with Muktar Mohammed. You can also find me on Instagram with Finance with Muktar also. So,
All right,
Great
fantastic. Great
stuff.
talking to you. Have a great evening.
you too. Thank you for having me once again.
All right.
All right, and we've come to the end of the marketplace. We do this every Monday at 5:15 p.m. right here on Smooth 98.1. But hey, do stick around because there's more great music and a whole lot more to come on the Smooth Drive this lovely Monday evening.